Great listen so far.
Here goes Bradley Barcola for Paris Saint-Germain. He lifted the ball away from Lewis Miley and tried to just sprint beyond him. Didn't quite have the ball control to keep hold of it. But Paris have regained it on the edge of the Newcastle box. Here's the goal scorer, Vitinha, spreading play to this near side for Hakimi. He and João Neves exchange short passes. Vitinha comes, pops one back to João Neves. The man who ran on average more than 11 kilometres per game during the Champions League last season. He put in an extraordinary amount of mileage. Driven ball diagonally by Nuno Mendes, looking for Hakimi, one full back to the other. Lewis Hall gets in the way. Paris throw in on this near side. You can see the Newcastle players are concentrating fiercely just to try and keep up with what's going on in front of them.
And that's the difficulty. There's no out ball at the moment. Nick Voltemade living off scraps, and I think if they can find him, get him to hold the ball up and then maybe get Elanga around him, then they've got a chance to counter.
But here's Barcola, left corner of the penalty box, trying to beat his man. Good defending by Malik Thiaw, not for the first time tonight. He's held a good, strong line for Newcastle, and they win a free kick just in front there as well, for a foul, I think, by Desiree Doué on Jacob Ramsey. We haven't mentioned too much yet in the midfield for Newcastle, another one of their fairly big money signings last summer, who hasn't had huge numbers of chances for them in this campaign.
Yeah, Malik Thiaw's a player that's really come on leaps and bounds. He came through at Schalke as a youngster, had a spell at Milan, and I think he's really improved defensively in Italian football. He's come to Newcastle, and I think he's really played his way into the team, and he looks comfortable. He looks like he's not overawed so far. He's got a lot of blue shirts around him making runs, and he's having to fiercely concentrate. But what's really stood out about him so far has been the composure. Very impressive under pressure.
Newcastle missing Joelinton, their Brazilian midfield player. He's out injured at the moment. Bruno Guimaraes, their leader, is on the bench tonight. He obviously would have started had he been fully fit, you'd assume. Fabian Schär is still missing for them, so is Tino Livramento. So their squad's under pressure, and it's a big stage of the season for them, with games coming thick and fast in a variety of competitions. 1-0 down here to Paris Saint-Germain, who retained the ball so well, and here's Zaire Emery, is so quick and darting in and out of the Newcastle penalty area. Finds the pass back there to Doué, who was arriving, but he couldn't quite take it in his stride. And it's back with Nick Pope in the Newcastle goal.
Tactically, they're so difficult to pin down, Paris, because you just had a situation there where João Neves, who is a holding midfielder in inverted commas, was nearly on the edge of the box, and Dembele dropped deep. They're always moving, always rotating, always switching over. And when you're trying to pin them down and defend against them, that makes it really, really tough. They're all so comfortable in so many different positions.
Newcastle go long up towards Voltemade from Nick Pope's ball. Voltemade is rather bullied out of it by Willian Pacho. Newcastle got another chance to play it forward though, and Hakimi is being forced to stretch here, and he lost out to Joe Willock, but Willock's been penalised for the foul, and Paris get the free kick to Newcastle's frustration. Still Paris leading by 1-0. And as Mike Sewell was saying, Atletico Madrid are on the bubble in 8th position at the moment. Chris, more news.
Talking of Mike, it's been, what, 5 minutes without a goal. You have a couple now.
I certainly do. Another one at the City of Manchester Stadium, and another one for Manchester City. This time, Ryan Cherki has scored the goal. Again, excellent work by Jeremy Doku, who set up Erling Haaland's early goal. He got into the penalty area on the left, squared it in. Cherki was unmarked. He dispatched it for 2-0. And then in Spain, Athletic Club, who were the first team to score after 3 minutes, then were pegged back by Sporting's goal through Diamande, have retaken the lead through Gorka Gurazeta, who's now scored 4 goals this season.
Here come Newcastle United for the first time tonight, perhaps with Voltemade and then Willock. It's a tight angle for him. He gets the ball across, and Elanga was in there. He couldn't quite snake out a leg to poke a shot goalwards. Maybe Nuno Mendes did just enough to put him off. And Paris, I think, are going to clear. And as they start to move away from their penalty area, they've got so much pace. You always wonder whether they might go all the way, but Newcastle got a foot in it. It's only a throw-in to them on the halfway line. So it remains 1-0 to Paris. But more news from Chris.
Yes, Real Madrid in the rain in Lisbon have taken the lead. Kylian Mbappe striking against Benfica, which moves the record winners of this competition up to 3rd. And currently, Benfica would be outside of the top 24. So a goal which they were not hoping for, but one which Kylian Mbappe celebrated in typical style.
Paris have the ball at the Parc des Princes, enjoying themselves on this pristine playing surface, playing with exuberance, connecting with one another really well, putting Newcastle under pressure with the ball and when they don't have it as well. They haven't got the second goal, which they'll feel that they might be well worth. Vitinha with the opener on the night in the 8th minute. That was after Ousmane Dembele had a penalty saved. The penalty was awarded for a handball that happened inside the 1st minute of the game. The penalty was taken in the 4th after a VAR check, and Nick Pope saved it. Ball down the right for Paris, looking to try and bring Doué into the game. He's come on for Kvaratskhelia, who was injured, got his ankle caught underneath a challenge by Anthony Elanga and went off. Looked a very sore one for the Georgian, I'm afraid. So that's the news from the first half an hour or so here. Paris leading by a goal to nil, and chance for Malik Thiaw to stride out from the back, but his pass picked off by Nuno Mendes for Paris, and he comes forward and hits one straight into the midriff of Nick Pope. But the full-backs for Paris Saint-Germain are such terrific athletes and attacking weapons, Kevin.
And they are encouraged to get forward at every opportunity, and it isn't just down the flanks. Of course, we think of attacking full-backs a lot of the time in those wide areas, but they don't do that necessarily for Paris. They're invited to come in field into those half spaces, the inside left or the inside right channel, and then they have other players who can cover them in the wide areas. And as I mentioned, that's why it's so difficult to defend against Paris, because you've got 5 men in the attacking line, and not always the 5 that you would expect, and not always in the areas of the pitch you would expect them. So it's a constant battle mentally to try and work out what they're doing.
I've noticed Dan Burn once or twice quite deep in the Paris half, as if he's trying to add his weight to the press. But he's retreating now because Hakimi's coming forward for Paris, exchanging passes with Doué on this right-hand side. Doué drifting infield, Vitinha, and then João Neves. Now Dembele's come deep to collect the ball. Nuno Mendes is still on the left. As you were giving that little tactical explanation, I was thinking of the position from which Hakimi scored in the Champions League final at the end of last season, popping up centrally, pretty much 7 or 8 yards from goal. Centre-forward position, and he tucked it away so well, of course. Paris possession, Newcastle just being pulled out of their safety zone. Paris trying to create gaps in behind them. Vitinha on the ball, never afraid to take it when he's closely marked. Had Tonali right behind him, but spun away. Then Mendes just trying to taunt Elanga a little bit, wins a throw-in over on the far side. Pretty calm at the moment. Paris lead 1-0.
Goal disallowed, only just offside Kasper Dolberg, so still 0-0 between Ajax and Olympiacos, but more action for Mike Sewell.
There are lots of happy people at the Stadio Diego Armando Maradona, because Napoli have equalised at home to Chelsea. Enzo Fernandez had earlier put Chelsea in front from the penalty spot, but Antonio Vergara has equalised. It's 1-1.
Napoli still outside the top 24 places, so they might need to score again in this ever-evolving league table on match day 8 of this season's Champions League. 1 goal at the Parc des Princes with Richard Connolly and Kevin Hatchard so far tonight.
Newcastle with a rare chance to put their foot on the ball here. They're inside their own half, but even when they are inside their own half, they haven't got time on it. So they're launching a diagonal out to Lewis Miley on the far side, but instantly he's under pressure from Nuno Mendes. The thing about Paris is they're still a very young side as well, and they're very energetic with it. Newcastle are having to work really hard just to keep the ball inside their own half at the moment, with Jacob Ramsey and Miley and Tonali. And of course, it's not their first choice midfield, and eventually they have lost it, and Paris have picked it up, and they're not far from the Newcastle goal. Vitinha on the ball. Barcola just drifting out to his left. Vitinha decides that's not the pass, comes back in field. Doué loses it. Good job by Willock to win it back for Newcastle. But what are they going to do, Eddie Howe's team, when they do win it? Well, they've found Willock between the lines here, and Willock trying to hold off João Neves, who gets a foot in. It's a Newcastle throw on the far side.
Exactly underlines what you were just saying about the energy of this team, because as soon as Newcastle made a line-breaking pass, found a bit of space, who's there? João Neves, just to rob it off them.
Newcastle have it, but at the back, still 1-0 Paris, Chris.
Second goal for Malik Tillman and for Leverkusen against already eliminated Villarreal. Great start for Leverkusen, and Benfica have levelled against Real Madrid. Jose Mourinho is happier now than he was a couple of minutes ago. Vangelis Pavlidis, I think, is the goal scorer, although he may have been involved, and I will let you know in a minute. In fact, it is Andreas Schlederup who has scored. This was a European final back in the 60s, and it's Benfica 1, Real Madrid 1 tonight. Mike Sewell, what news?
Atleti, having gone in front at home to Bodo Glimt, had moved into the top 8. They're now out of the top 8 because Bodo Glimt have equalised. Fredrik Sjøvelt has scored the goal 11 minutes before half-time. Excellent work down the left near the dead ball line. It was cut back to Sjøvelt, who nipped in between the defenders to send the ball in from around 10 metres out. So Atleti 1, Bodo Glimt 1.
Of course, beat Manchester City last week, and there is a goal check in North London, and Arsenal have a third against Kairat Almaty. Gabriel Martinelli, that surely seals top spot for Arsenal in the league phase.
Bradley Barcola on the charge for Paris. Down their left-hand side, Lewis Miley with a sliding tackle on the young Frenchman. That's going to be at the expense of a Paris corner, far side their left. So forward strides Marquinhos, looking to try and get his name on the score sheet.
It's quite the test for Lewis Miley, isn't it? Because he's a midfielder by trade. He's a young man, not a huge amount of experience filling in that wing-back position, being tested fully by Barcola.
Short corner from Paris Saint-Germain, not for the first time tonight. Nuno Mendes has it over there. Jacob Ramsey is battling with him, but he's lost out, and Doué plays the ball in behind, and then it's thumped over the top by Willian Pacho. The centre-back was still forward from the corner, loitering. The ball was fizzed across, and he hit it on the bounce. First time, left foot, helped it on its way, and over the crossbar.
It's a great piece of play by Doué, because he recognises that if he could play that with the outside of his boot, he'll find a teammate, and he did just that. Pacho got away from Voltemade. He does the right thing. He's just trying to cushion it with the instep. But he just gets too much on it and sends the ball over the crossbar. But Paris looking the dominant force at the moment. But the big question, Richard, is can Paris actually score that second goal? That's been their issue in the last few weeks, that they've dominated teams, but they've only maybe had one goal or sometimes no goals to show for it.
1-0 away to Auxerre on Friday night in their last league outing. They're just about top of Ligue 1 at the moment, above Lens. It's Tonali for Newcastle. Maybe they can take advantage of the fact that Paris haven't punished them more than the one goal. Here is Anthony Elanga, left-hand side, flicks it back towards the centre. Little touch off, comes back to Sandro Tonali again, and then Dan Burn in possession, loses out to the tigerish Hakimi. Tonali is across though, and Hakimi lost his footing, and Tonali won it back for Newcastle. Has to go back to his goalkeeper, Pope. Pope doesn't take a second touch, just wallops it down the field. Burn was still forward, he got a flick on. Voltemade helps it to Elanga on this near side. Just a little bit more chaotic for Paris at the moment. Elanga trying to get past Doué, and I think he's got himself a throw-in near the corner flag on this near side. So just a little bit more difficult for Paris.
Yeah, I think what Newcastle need to see more of is what we just saw from Nick Voltemade. Back to goal, holding the ball up. Does have that technical quality. He's a big guy, we know that, but he's really good at linking the play. He's got to try and hold that ball, shield it if he can, and then they can get Willock and Elanga and maybe a midfield runner up to him. But at the moment, that's just not happening for Newcastle.
Dan Burn back after a spell on the sidelines with injury into the Newcastle side tonight, trying to drive them forward. Here is Ramsey now to this near side. It's Anthony Elanga going past Hakimi and getting a cross in. Shame for Newcastle, it was a little too deep. Picked up by the 19-year-old Miley over on the far side. Back to Jacob Ramsey again. This is Newcastle's best spell of the match. 40 minutes and they're settling into their work at the Parc des Princes. A goal down to the home side. Vitinha's goal early in the game. Elanga now, left corner of the box. Lewis Hall made an overlapping run, but Elanga was right not to play it because Hall had gone offside, so they work it more slowly. Back to Dan Burn. Now infield to Joe Willock. former Arsenal man once upon a time. Ramsey on the edge of the box. He didn't quite take it in his stride first time. Couldn't get the shot off. Pass to Miley, who was forced wide. And actually, Miley did well to win a throw-in.
It's one of the very few moments when Newcastle have actually managed to combine and bring a number of players into a move. And he saw Miley in the corner of his eye, and as you said, just got a little bit too much on the pass. But that's what they have to do. They have to move that ball a little bit quicker with a little bit more conviction and try and bring numbers in. It's a risk because then Paris can hit you on the counter, but it's what they've got to do.
4 minutes to the end of the 45. Lewis Hall with a long throw. Byrne flicks it on. It came for Voltemade, who couldn't get a clean header on it, and Paris are able to smuggle the ball away. But that was a moment for Newcastle, and one that Voltemade could not take advantage of. He put his hands to his head immediately after the chance had gone, as if he did have a play on it. Byrne had done very well to flick the long throw on.
He just misses it. He comes off Dan Byrne, and Voltemade just didn't quite judge the flight of it. He's a big, tall man by his own admission, heading not his strongest suit, and he didn't connect with that one at all.
Paris have gone down the other end, leading by a goal to nil. Will they get the second goal they crave before half-time? Here's Desiree Doué with some very fancy footwork on the edge. Couldn't quite play João Neves in. Vitinha with another go, then round the corner by Barcola, but straight to Newcastle, who immediately lose it. And now here's Hakimi again, and Dembele coming into a deep position. Nobody at centre-forward for the home side at the moment. Marquinhos having a look up. And they'll draw Newcastle back to the halfway line and start again. Paris Saint-Germain. Vitinha now trying to sprint through the lines. Leaves it for a teammate, and Hakimi collects on this near side. Doué back in field. Dembele playing as a midfielder at the moment. Dinks it out to Barcola on the far side. Nodded down the line for João Neves. Number 87 on his back. He checks, and Paris recycle it once again, just manoeuvring the ball from side to side. Dembele straight through the heart of things. Couldn't find Doué with a straight pass, or he couldn't...